Welcome to the Omni Talk Spotlight Series, where we highlight the people, the technologies, and the companies that are shaping the future of retail. Today, we are joined by Jesse Michael, Managing Director at Adeptmind. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man, this is great. So this happened on real short notice, and we are pumped because we think this news is timely. And Adeptmind has been working with, for everyone listening, Adeptmind has been working with Centennial, the mall operator, to create almost a front-end digital marketplace for their malls. And we want to talk to Jesse about that and see what it's all about. But first, we want to learn a little bit more about Jesse, because I know, Anne, you think he has like one of the coolest sounding names, and he's also Canadian.
Yes.
Obviously, Jesse Michael sounds like a rock star. And he's Canadian, which if you follow our show, Canadians are attracted to us like moths to flames. We don't know why, but here's another one. Shout out to all the Canadian people listening. But Jesse, let's start. Who are you and what is Adeptmind?
So myself, sort of my background, I've been in, retail tech for a number of years across two startups, and predominantly sort of, leading in the retail technology space, working a couple of different products and working with innovative clients. So personally, I love that, for myself, working in these different businesses, across retailers directly, as well as, now shopping centers. I've had a taste of kind of the different areas of retail business and watch the ups and downs that, and especially as we're seeing it now, that we're going through. So it's really been interesting, especially in the last year and a half. So I joined Adeptmind a year and a half ago. We're a 3-year-old startup based in Toronto. Primarily focusing on retail tech, AI and machine learning for product discovery. That's kind of our core business model. Okay. And then we've got two sort of streams off of that, one being working with retailers directly. So we have a lot of partnerships on that side of the business with Ulta Beauty, Decathlon, US Polo, and a number of others. And then on the other side with shopping centers, again, working with Centennial, as well as Cadillac Fairview. And obviously, we'll go into that a little bit later on how this whole thing started, but that's sort of our background. And to be honest, how it all started, our two co-founders started a company previously called Maluba back in 2012. It was the first voice technology and voice capability services for Tesla, LG, BlackBerry, sort of pre-Siri. And Alexa and everything else that we're aware of now. And they sold that to Microsoft back in 2017. So spun off from that, understood the technology and understood a lot of the problems in the market, and spun off and started Adeptmind. So that's how we got to where we are now.
That's really interesting. And I didn't know about Cadillac Fairview too. That's some great people there too. So I'm curious to hear more about that. But before we get into it, let's get into the meat. I got to ask one more question. Why are Canadians seemingly so like tuned in to innovation and what needs to happen in retail right now? Like, what is it about it? What's in the water? Because I really think there's something to this. And so I'm asking the question right from the horse's mouth. What is it?
That's a good question. I think we've seen especially in Toronto and Montreal as well too, we've seen a massive boom in tech and even, Shopify based in Ottawa. Yeah. We're seeing a massive boom in tech here. And then you think about Waterloo and Kitchener too. I mean, that's a massive area for tech. So I think it's just the convergence of a lot of smart people in a condensed area that are trying to tackle problems. And I don't know. Honestly, it's not a question I've been asked before, and nothing I've really kind of thought of. But I think it's a very competitive market here now, and people are saying it's a Silicon Valley of the North. But I like to think that there's a lot of just really good homegrown talent trying to be innovative, and there's good government backing too around programs and that sort of stuff around tech to help startups thrive and survive, especially in times that we're going through right now. There's been a lot of good benefits to that. So I think you're seeing just the product of that in the school. A lot of the schools around us too are really strong in producing good products. So I would say it's a competitive nature of everything too.
Yeah.
Jesse, at Adeptmind, when they kind of started going for this first product that you were going to put out, had you like intended to go right to retailers? Had you intended to go right to malls? Like, tell me a little bit about, with all the retail tech happening there, all the innovation, what kind of influenced the decision to go forward with the product that you guys just put out today?
It's a good question too. Our focus for the first year and a half, 2 years was really on retail and focusing on retailers and bringing a unique approach to product discovery and search. There's a lot of search companies out there, a lot that go directly for sort of the long tail and not really a lot that go for the head and the enterprise retailers. And that was really our approach, was to go after, and approach enterprise retailers from a consultant standpoint, from a, just pure, hey, we've done this product before. We understand the issues. We understand, especially 3-4 years ago, that, a lot of enterprise companies were just dipping their toes into AI and machine learning and starting to understand this whole market and this whole industry, but maybe hadn't done or had direct teams involved in that sort of thing. There was a lot of conversation around e-commerce, but as we know, store sales were still crushing e-com, and it wasn't a massive industry. So for us, focusing on retail was really, really interesting, and we learned a lot through that, and we developed a lot of products from it. But that's sort of what led us towards the shopping center side.
And what was kind of the pitch to them? I mean, what were you selling in that capacity when you were going to these enterprise retailers?
A lot of cases, then it was competing in search, and it was competing in that search space. And I think we learned from that, a lot of the same conversations were happening at that point of, hey, we can, if you inject our AI and machine learning, we're gonna drive conversion, we're gonna, drive AOV up, we're gonna do all these metrics. And I think it was lost in translation because everybody has the same message. And especially when I joined, I sort of looked at everything and said, listen, I think there's more to this. I think we're actually being innovative in the space when I look at the entire, the competitive set when it comes to retailers specifically. And, we actually had 2 or 3 products that retailers weren't even doing themselves. We have, we were doing image pills like you see on Google right now. We called it guided discovery. We've been doing that for almost a year with some of our retail partners, even before Google launched it. And I know some people will say oh, you're crazy, but no, it's true. And we kind of back it up. But obviously, if you see Google doing it and YouTube doing it, it's a great backing of the technology that you're building. But that's just one example that we were doing that retailers really weren't picking up on because I don't think we were emphasizing it enough. So there were certain things, just a lot in the messaging that we weren't doing well, that we've now switched. And are focusing on a lot of different things with retailers as well too. There's this whole data as a service approach, different products that we're helping with in terms of, as I mentioned before, a lot of retailers don't have an AI or machine learning team or services that sort of power that side of commerce. And I think we found a niche for us where we could actually come in and not necessarily sell, but just, play the doctor patient and say, what are your issues? What are you struggling with? Is it product tagging? Is it external data? Is it relevancy? Is it, reviews? What are the things that are troubling you and, your problems, and how can we help? And I think that is the messaging we're leading with now with retailers directly. And we're seeing good success. As I said, we're working with Ulta, and that's been a partnership for about a year now. And US Polo signed on around February or March, actually right when COVID hit. And then we've got a few others in the pipeline that will be, closing soon in the next couple of months as well.
That's it. Yeah. So kind of a triage approach, and then really grounded, historically in search and how that works. And so I can see in a lot of ways how that would lead to Centennial. Well, let's shift gears there then. And I think for context too, I think for those listening who may not know, I wrote an article in Forbes back in, I think it was April, where I talked about the idea of a digital front-end marketplace for malls, where malls essentially need to act, in our opinion, like quasi-retailers in a way, and create an almost like retail-like experience, for what they're doing at the mall. And I think with COVID, all of that's been, hastened or sped up because you're now talking about coordinating curbside pickup, things like concierge servicing. Jesse, how did the Centennial relationship start? So take us back to that, and how much was COVID an influence that you can talk about?
Sure. Yeah. No, it started roughly right in March or in April or so. I did an article with ICSC on our partnership actually with Cadillac Fairview, which goes back about a year before that. So last May, they approached us around doing some work with them, and they were launching an app and wanted our support just from, they'd heard what we'd done with product discovery and search for retailers. And we had neighboring buildings in Toronto. So it was kind of a nice relationship. We kind of knew of them, they knew of us. So we got started sort of in that realm with them, and was discussing the partnership with them and what we were providing for them in terms of, again, product discovery, aggregation of all the retailers, the SKUs in Eaton Center as our proof of concept in Toronto, and they've since actually launched to 19 other centers in Canada as well. So they're totally across 19 centers with their app solution, and we're supporting and helping to power that.
And what does that mean? So lay that out for everybody too, like in terms of what you're supporting currently. What does that mean? Are you helping? Is it findability, search? What types of things are you coordinating for them within the app?
Yeah, so aggregation of products. So a combination between us and their teams, bringing product feeds together, and search primarily, guided discovery. So right on the home screen of their app, it's from a search standpoint, from a category browse. We've added a lot of different filters around occasion filters. Those are really important.
Sure.
If you're looking for, dresses or shoes or anything for certain occasions. So we've done a lot of innovation within that as well, in partnering with them. But predominantly it's been product discovery and search.
Search and discovery, not necessarily commerce yet at this stage.
Correct.
With those guys too. And that's so in terms of Centennial too, like where are you there then?
With Centennial, where we're focused is, once Whitney Livingston, their chief operating officer, picked up on the ICSC article, she contacted me. We started having a conversation around their vision, and it seemed to align around, hey, for all 7 of your centers, let's actually grab products. Let's actually go further and focus on restaurants and services as well, and do a complete aggregation of all the tenants in your shopping centers into, everybody calls it a marketplace. Everybody likes to throw the marketplace word around, but right. It is what it is.
It is.
It is a marketplace in a sense, and let's bring that together, and not an app format, but on your website. So building this directly into your websites for all the different shopping centers. So individual search products for each individual center, enabling shoppers and the traffic that's already going to their site to have access to all of these different products, all these different restaurants, all these different services, all in one spot. And that's really where the conversation took off, and it's continuing to boom.
And you guys are doing this in phases now too, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're calling this Shop Now. Is that right? And there's a number of phases by which you're approaching this effort. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So, Centennial's dubbed this Shop Now.
Okay.
And approaching it in multiple different phases. So phase 1 is again getting product discovery stood up across the 7 different centers. Enabling customers to search for different products. There'll be a restaurant component and a services component as well to that. Okay. But predominantly, shoppers can then find, actually click through the products, go to the product display page directly within the shopping center site, see all the information on the product, as well as for certain number of stores, local inventory. And that's been the key piece to this project. That's a major differentiator, and why it is really the first solution of its kind to market, and why it's unique is the fact that we are embedding and inputting local product inventory.
There's so many people, and we kind of talked about it before the show, but there's so many people who are coming at this, especially some legacy mall players who are saying like, this can't be done. It's too much. There's too much coordination. It's managing multiple retailers, multiple product feeds, multiple locations. What do you have to say to that? I mean, you've already done phase 1. You're about to roll out phase 2. what do you have to say to those people who maybe were doubting that this is a possibility?
It's not 5 years ago. And, for us, it's a lot of products have been developed over the last number of years, whether it's in transportation or logistics or, just retailers in general developing, their owned and operated properties and technology. It's possible now. We've built a platform that, we don't need retailer tenant buy-in from. We can do this all on our end. And that's been one of the things too that I would say before is one of the downsides is retailers and tenants needed to buy into this. Whereas we're doing a lot of the back end work, developers and landlords actually, leave it all to us. So they literally just say, here's access to our website or access to our apps, and go ahead and do your development. And that's really where it differs from previous times.
Okay, I gotta push you and ask you some things on that. Then I mean, to Anne's point, like when I wrote that article on social media, like some people slammed me, like they thought I was ridiculous for suggesting it, and now I'm like, look at it now. People are doing it, so that's great. But the pushback I always hear, which is really key to what you just said, is that the retailers will never go for this. They'll never align for this. And my point is like always been, what other choices do they ultimately have in the long run? When you start talking about inventory data and inventory feeds, and then we haven't gotten to the next stage, which is actually commerce.
Yep.
How are you bringing everybody on board for that? How are you getting that information?
From an inventory standpoint, the data is accessible. That's what I can say. If retailers have inventory available, then we can access it in a number of different ways. Same with product feeds. So back to my point about 5 years ago, things have changed from 5 years ago. You think about product feeds, you think about, e-com feeds, 5-6 years ago, those were really new. And that was a new sort of product development through, if you could grab an entire product catalog through an API, that was new to the market. There were select retailers that could do that. Now that's very commonplace. So that's how we're grabbing a lot of the products is through APIs and, in some cases, direct partnerships with retailers. On the other side, same with inventory feeds. Inventory feeds were really where product feeds were 5-6 years ago. It's still in its infancy, but especially due to COVID, a lot of retailers are, building out their technology stacks, including inventory, because they want to do buy online, pick up in store, and curbside. So that's a massive technology gain that they've made in the last number of years, and that's enabled us to put this technology together and bring it to life for shopping centers.
I was wondering if that seemed to me like it would probably be the linchpin in terms of all the movement that's going that way. But okay, so now next question, like as we start to stage this out and we get to what I think is Anne and I's nirvana, my nirvana, if I speak appropriate English. Yep. My vision would be there's a mall cart too, that there's a mall cart that can coordinate pickup, concierge services, even direct to home should people want it. Like, where is that in the roadmap? Is it in the roadmap? And, how far are we from there? What's it going to take?
Yep. And that's a part of phase 2 for Centennial. And, for other shopping centers, you should be aware that is available. So there's a number of different ways to do it. I won't go into specifics. I'll keep it pretty high level because there's a number of different ways that you can operate this. To your point, you mentioned concierge. That could be one way. But basically it's facilitating. We do have a cart that's associated with this for phase 1, where if you add all of your products to a shopping cart, the individual transactions will take place on the retailer's site. So you'll link out from the purchase page to the retailer's site directly to that product. You can buy online, pick up in store, ship it, curbside, whatever the retailer offers, you'll have that as a selection. In phase 2, a lot of, what I was just discussing will be brought into the fold and actually give shoppers the option directly from the shopping center website or app, the ability to make these selections on those products, whether it's, again, curbside pickup, buy online, pick up in store, shipment. If there's a logistics piece that can be connected, we can tie into that. We don't offer that ourselves, but if the shopping center has a logistics partner, we can absolutely tie into that and bring it to life. So it's totally possible, and it's possible now.
And at that stage, do you need the retailer's buy-in, or can you make that happen regardless of where they're positioned? Really?
That is unbelievable.
Okay.
Jesse.
Great to see that. Good for you guys.
I mean, can we even ask
Why
what phase
invest?
3 looks like? Like what's beyond there? What else can you possibly do?
So I think for me, and this is really the one piece I wanted to take away from, from talking with both of you today is really there's kind of, if you're a shopping center and you're like, oh my God, how do I even start?
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of 4 pillars that we kind of look at this and sort of approach everything when you're looking at, this problem or whatever, however you want to call it, or this solution. How do I get started? I mean, the first is just building the foundation. So to me, it's like building a house. You can't build a strong house without building a great foundation. And, just getting product search live on your web or your app, your owned and operated properties, opens you up to so many other opportunities. So that's what I mean by building the foundation. It leads to monetization. It leads to personalization. If you have a loyalty program, you can grow your loyalty program, grow those owned and operated properties just by having, product search available. Product search, and also restaurants and services. I can't forget them either, but having this sort of three-headed dragon included in that is building your foundation. Number 2 is shopper data and analytics. I mean, how many analytics companies are out there for shopping centers? There's a ton. But one thing that a lot of shopping centers are missing is access to data on their shoppers. This just gives another layer, especially if you can identify who the shopper is through a loyalty program or anything like that. You can start to layer in data and understand who this customer is. Because right now you're blocked by a lot of different things. It could be privacy, it could be whatever. You can start to actually build good personas around this to help again with personalization and all of that. Number 3 is supporting local. So,
right.
What we've done actually is, and this is a question that continues to come up from a lot of landlords and developers, is how are you supporting mom and pop stores? How are you supporting the local shop? And for us, we took that seriously. We actually built a product that's agnostic. Anybody can have access to it from a developer or landlord that enables mom and pops to go in if they don't have an e-commerce site, to actually go in and upload products, upload imagery, upload inventory counts, etc., and manage this through this, that this then connects through to the search platform. So their products and their brand and their store will show up in that. The key piece here too is if they go through all this work and they go, I just spent all this time creating this store, I might as well just have e-commerce. We've actually built the dashboard in a way that we can easily convert it to a Shopify store. So they can actually go from having no e-commerce presence to presence in the search and actually take it then to an e-commerce site if they want to go that far. So that's pillar 3, and 4 is connected commerce, which we've talked about is, is the local store inventory. It's one cart checkout. It's buy online, curbside delivery. And Anne, you're talking about where we're going in the future. It really is that, when retailers, actually have access to inventory and, there's a holy grail of, connecting directly into retailers and partnering with them, which is why the second side of our platform and partnerships, like I said, with Ulta and all these other guys, is so important for us as a platform. As we grow that side of our business, we're able to open up a lot of other doors on the connected commerce piece.
Holy cow, that was awesome. That was probably the best, one of the best, I think, I don't know how long that was, that framework, but the best 4 or 5 minutes we've ever had on this show. So I think that was really stellar. And my brain's already moving in terms of like what to do and how to create content out of that. So great job, Jesse. But hey man, I think on that note, I think let's end it there, because I don't think any questions I can ask especially are going to take this any further. But let's get you out of here with our game. How millennial are you? Anne, you ready for this one?
I am. Jesse, are you ready?
I think so.
All right.
I don't know. Let's see.
It'll be good. It'll be good. Cool. If you can make it through a hockey game, you can make it through How Millennial Are You?
Perfect.
Okay, Jesse, when you're going to pay for your groceries, what do you pull out at checkout? Mobile payment, cash, credit card? What is it?
I was going to answer the question before you gave me options. Sorry. It's and there's the comedian in me saying sorry already. It's completely mobile payment. I'm totally a millennial.
Nice. All right. Good answer. Good answer. Next question. In the last week, how many times have you ordered food or drinks from an app?
Ooh, probably, well, once for sure. We do Uber Eats once a week. And then I thought you were gonna ask me how many times I ordered from Amazon, and I was gonna be embarrassed to answer that. So we'll just.
Oh, I mean, you can throw this in. This is like wild card millennial. How many times did you order from Amazon in the last week?
At least 10. Yeah.
Careful what routes you go down here, Jesse, because you never know.
It's like an addiction. Yeah.
All right. Final question. If you could only choose one social platform, which platform would you choose and why?
I get a lot of my news from Twitter, funny enough. And yeah, I follow a lot of sports and a lot of news on Twitter. So that's kind of my go-to. Not a big fan of Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram or anything like that.
Or MySpace.
Or MySpace, which I also understand the reference. So yeah, Twitter for sure.
So Twitter. Okay, we haven't had a Twitter drop in a while.
Do you have any guilty pleasure follows on Twitter that you want to share with the audience?
Not really. It's actually pretty straightforward. I'm kind of boring that way. It's my wife, even my Instagram too. Like when she looks at it, she's like, "It's only sports." I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's pretty much what I look at." So my Twitter is literally filled with NFL fantasy stuff, hockey stuff, and some political news stuff. Yeah, pretty kind of boring.
You're an NFL guy, huh? Up north, you're an NFL guy?
Yeah, Chiefs fan. Been a Chiefs fan. My cousin was a chiropractor for the Chiefs for 25 years. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I actually watched the Super Bowl in Kansas City right before everything went lockdown.
Right. Yeah.
And I missed the parade, but yeah, it was pretty exciting for us as a family, anyways, because we've been following the Chiefs for a long time. They're finally good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was a big one for them. That's a great football town. So I don't know, Ann, what do you think? How do you do?
We'll give it to you. I think so.
Yeah.
You're our neighboring Canadian anyway. We have to.
Yeah. He's only reinventing the mall at the same time. So I think you get some plus up with that. But all right. Well, hey, Jesse, that was awesome. I learned a ton from that, which is always kind of, just my validation point for what we're doing and the work we're doing. So if people found that interesting, which undoubtedly I think they're going to with this conversation, and they want to get in touch with you guys, learn more about how this works, get even more into the details, like what's the best way for them to learn more about Adeptmind and to get in touch with you?
For sure. So kind of, again, there's, if you're a retailer and you're interested in the product discovery work we're doing or the shopping center stuff, reach me on LinkedIn. Or you can go to our website, adeptmind.ai, or reach me at Jesse, Jesse, at adeptmind.ai.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone listening, that was Jesse Michael, the managing director at Adeptmind. As always, be careful out there.